and physically nothing potentially could happen to me, I was still really, really scared. So I've always wondered like why, like how does that how did that happen?
Well, we can try to answer that question if you'd like. We have some theories, but I'm not a scientist in this department, so they're only like guess theories. And I can talk about some tricks and things that people don't notice that we did to give you that feeling.
Inside scoops, I like it.
Yeah.
How does it go? How does it come together? I'm really curious.
Yeah. So when we were designing the game, we were thinking, what's some environments where we can have a lot of objects between you and the ground? And we tried a few different things, but the one that worked the best was a city. Because there's a lot of things in variation of height, and sort of related to this question is sometimes people go, why don't you just make it higher? Like, go higher. But the higher you go, the depth perception starts working less. It's like when you're looking out of an aeroplane, you kind of just don't really feel the heights so much as standing on top of a building looking down.
Have you also tried it, like building it higher and see what the kind of effect it was?
Scary. But so it's not what you would think, and it's because on the top of a building, there's the plank itself. There's your hands, and then there's an elevator vent to your right, like a meter after that. And then there's an elevator vent to your left, another few meters down after that. And then you start seeing a cable going between you and the building next to you, which happens in the real world, like data cables and things like that. And then there's flag masts and more windows, chunks, tiles coming out of the building. And now we're like 50 meters down and there's multiple layers of clouds. And so when you're looking down and your head moves just a little bit, all these things just make what's called a parallax effect. And it's, even though it doesn't look photorealistic, especially on the Oculus Quest, your heart doesn't know that. And it thinks it's real at that point. And we put you in the elevator as well as a way to start the experience, but I won't take credit for this. It was partly unintentional, but you go from being claustrophobic in a tight space to the opposite, like as soon as the doors open. And so it makes it a little bit of a shock. And then there's like, as you take your first step on the plank, there's like 7 different sounds start playing. So there's every like 15 centimeters, your head moves forward, we play a creaky plank sound. And so you probably noticed that one. That's a fairly obvious one. There's the stereo wind changes as you turn your head from left and right, which happens when the wind collects your ear, it changes sounds a little bit. But then some real subliminal ones, like there's a constantly increasing heartbeat. And so it's getting faster and faster the entire time. And instead of, it can't go on infinite. So we drop it back down instantly again. And then it's designed so your body will think it's its own heart rate getting faster.
Oh, wow. And you intentionally just drop the sound of the heartbeat. So you remember it or something that it sticks with you?
Yeah.
It's just like, for the moment.
A couple of people have said, I can feel my own heart beating, or I can, I'm starting.
But it was not their heart? It was just the sound of it. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's
a really cool technique, actually. It's also used in a lot of movies, right?
Yeah, I think in movies, they have a thing called a shepherd's tone, which is a sound that's constantly increasing. Like they used it in that Dunkirk movie. And it makes people get uneasy and they start to panic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also a clock, something that helps to speed up the tempo or the feeling like you have to no time. Yeah. Great.
And as you're like halfway along the plank, there's like very subtle, out of tune violin. But unless you really listen carefully, you won't even. They're nearly like subliminal strength. They're some of the tricks we did in the game. But psychologically wise, I'm not a psychologist. I have zero training in psychology. But after speaking with psychologists, some of them use it in their own practices and to help people with agoraphobia, because they have debilitating fear of heights where they can't even go in real world elevators and escalators. It affects their jobs and day-to-day life. So they use Richie's plank for exposure therapy.
Oh, great. That is awesome.
Yeah. But the theory there is, the brain knows it's not real, the conscious mind, but the animal brain, or their heart, I call it, it thinks that they're in immense danger. So the conscious brain has to tell the rest of the brain that it's safe and that it's okay and you can do it. But that conflict causes fear, and you still get all the cortisol and adrenaline. And when you get that hit, it can last for like half an hour for people after they've come out. Apparently.
Yeah, they're still shook up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It's so unreal that you can create something out of nothing, actually, and mimic it as real life and have those same kind of emotions and feelings and fear and angers. That's so great, man. That's amazing.
It is strange. Like, there's people that have skydived and then they wouldn't walk the plank, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Because skydiving's way scarier. And they're like, yeah, but when I was skydiving, I had a parachute, and I'm like, but
you feel safe. Like,
it would be interesting just to have some kind of parachute then up in the elevator and walk the plank. Like, would it be any different? You know, would that make a difference? Like, it's so the brain tells them there's a safety net or something, right? Like, is that the reason? Well, that's really weird.
I'm not sure how that works, but I will say that that's why there's like safety guidelines, because people can react so unexpectedly and so powerfully. So when you start the game and in the elevator, there's those messages to say, hey, look, this can be quite powerful. Make sure there's a couple of people there ready to guide you in case you do react unexpectedly. And we see those YouTube videos where people like push each other, thinking it's funny, but that can result in all sorts of injuries. And when people say, sometimes people are on the plank and they go, can I jump? And the supervisor's like, yeah, you can jump. But then they really jump instead of just stepping off. So we make sure, we try to tell people to say, step off the plank. You can step off, don't jump off.